Lieutenant Commander Keenan Harper, Bodyman to the President of the United States. The first time I got on my knees for President Ashley, it was the night of the inauguration. He'd gone back to the Oval Office after making an appearance at one of the balls and had fallen asleep on the sofa. Considering he'd already been awake and working for over 20 hours by then, I wasn't surprised he'd dozed off. I'd only been on the job for 5 days at that point, but I'd spent the entire month between my separation from the Navy and my first day as the President's bodyman researching what the hell a bodyman was supposed to do. As a personal aide to the President, it was my job to pretty much do whatever the man wanted. I was tasked with helping him dress, fetching him coffee, making sure he was properly fed and hydrated, finding missing items, or ensuring he had what he needed for trips and meetings, and basically anything else he needed done in order to keep from being distracted by the most important job in the world. So I had to assume it meant helping him get much-needed sleep when he dozed off on the presidential sofa. But when I began slipping off his formal wingtips, he jerked awake with a grunt. Irish green eyes peered at me through inky lashes, and I tried to keep any emotion off my face, even though I was suddenly flooded with it.
"Keenan."
His voice was hoarse from sleep and exhaustion.
"Sorry, Commander Harper. What time is it?"
3 a.m., sir. Would you prefer to move to the residence? He sat up and rubbed both hands over his face. A lick of hair stood up on the back of his head, and my fingers itched with the need to smooth it. Instead, I kept my eyes focused on the rug under me as I stood up.
Yeah, I guess that would be a good idea. I have an early meeting at..."
His voice trailed off. 7, I said before clearing my throat. "I'll make sure you're up." He glanced at me before standing.
"That won't be necessary. I'll set an alarm."
Those were the early days, when I'd still stupidly thought I could keep some distance by living in my own apartment, before the sheer demands and long hours of the job had necessitated me finally caving and accepting a bedroom in the staff section of the residence. I'd gotten on my knees for President Ashley countless times during that first term, when we were both new and unsure of ourselves. But none of them were for the reasons I'd secretly wanted. No, that didn't happen until 4.5 years later.
Garner Ashley, President of the United States.
I'd known before I'd accepted my sister's suggestion it was a bad idea. Keenan Harper had been her best friend growing up. The quintessential boy next door who mowed lawns for extra cash, helped at his dad's hardware store, and dreamed about following his favorite uncle into the Navy. Even though I'd been 6 years older than Keenan, I'd still gotten used to seeing him around. He and Kat were inseparable, to the point I'd expected the two of them to wind up together one day. But then Kat had gone to law school, and Keenan had joined the Navy and moved to California. I'd been so busy building my own legal career before accidentally entering politics, I hadn't given the beautiful boy from Brownsburg, Indiana, a second thought, until Kat had recommended him for the position of my personal aide after the election. "This position is usually filled by a kid," I'd explained, thinking it was a joke. "Not a lieutenant commander in the Navy. He's getting out, and he doesn't want to move home yet. His dad's pressuring him to come take over the shop, and he's not ready. This would be perfect. Kat, he'd be fetching me drinks and, I don't know, picking up dry cleaning. It's long hours and low pay. Trust me, he wouldn't want the job." She'd met my eyes with a familiar look of determination. "He needs this, and you need someone you can trust. Besides, he's already got security clearances, and his military record is impeccable. Surely he's married by now. His wife wouldn't want..." "Not married. No wife. Hell, I think the closest he ever came to a serious relationship was when he dated Brianna Walters' senior year. It lasted 3 months. He broke up with her before leaving for Purdue." I'd blown out of breath.